Process. Process may not be the most exciting topic, but it's worth dedicating some time to. Process should never be the goal. You don't want to get locked into a process, especially if it's not serving the design. But stress happens when you don't know what's next, when you don't know what to expect, when you don't know the next step in your process. When you're designing something, it's good to go in with a plan, even if you know that plan will likely change later on. So I want to make a game, but first I need an idea, and perhaps more importantly, I need to be able to sell that idea. Based on research, prior experience, and intuition, I've laid out a 6-month and 9-part plan for reaching that goal. Part 1 is story. Story is going to be the emotional core of this project. This is a very narrative-driven game. A lot hinges on the story, so it's going to be really important that we get the story right. I'm not a writer, so I've enlisted the help of a friend of mine, and with a little bit of back and forth, I think we're going to be able to come up with something that's quite interesting. Part 2 is the DevLog. Yep, that's what we're doing now, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Like I've said before, I'm being quite casual about it. I don't want to sink a bunch of time into it. It's just there to give people a little bit of insight into my process, and I guess a little bit of insight into who I am as well. Part 3 is going to be the Unreal project itself. Of course, that's really important. That's where I'm going to be building out all the environments, some basic functionality. I want to make sure that when we get to the end, everything that is in the trailer, which I'll get to, will have been recorded in Engine. That way we can honestly say that this game is presently in development. One note I'll offer here is that all these parts aren't necessarily in chronological order. There's a little bit of overlap between them, so I've kind of roughly placed them in the order that I'll be tackling them. Part 4 is the Steam listing. You can actually list a project on Steam at a very early stage. There's a little bit of a cost to do so, which makes sense. So I think sometime within the first 2 months of the project, I want to go ahead and get a Steam listing up there, throw some imagery up, and just see if we can get some passive wish lists. Wish lists are a metric that publishers tend to look at when they're evaluating the merits of your project. Part 5 is a web page. This really isn't that important, but I do already have a website, so I figured I might as well throw some information up there about this project. Part 6, I've mentioned a couple times now, is the trailer. This is really going to be the centerpiece of my pitch, and this is what we're going to be working towards for the next few months. The trailer's got to be one awesome cinematic minute of beautiful, compelling footage. That's the goal anyway. Blue Ocean Games. So this is a game publishing company. They regularly hold trailer competitions by which the public votes on which indie game trailers they think are the most interesting, and the winners get to go on to get funding, or at least get the opportunity to get some funding. It's a pretty easy thing to submit a trailer to. I've done it a couple times now with moderate success. We had a game that was a finalist in one of the competitions, but this time around I think I can do a little better, and like I said, it's easy enough to do, so might as well give it a shot. I've also mentioned the pitch deck. This is a document that I'll be submitting to different publishers, different investors. So sometime along the lines, I'll share a little bit of my work in designing that. And lastly, part 9, I'm calling this packages or mailables. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. This is typically a very digital process, but I like mail. I like mailing things. I've done this before. I sent out my portfolio, physical copies of my portfolio, to potential employers, and I've gotten a little bit of work that way. So I'm going to put together some mailable versions of the pitch deck, and I'm going to send them out to hopefully make a more memorable first impression. Yeah, so those are the 9 parts of my process. I think this outlines pretty well what I'm going to be working on, roughly. I've already started digging into Unreal Engine, so stay tuned for next time. But for now, that's all I have to say.